How do you deal with stress? And do people deal with stress in different ways? And how does stress affect creativity? I'm sat here on a Friday and I got a lot to do. I have promised my book publisher that I will have the final edit to them on Monday. And I've got a whole section of my book left to edit. So realistically, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it done. And I've already pushed back 2 or 3 times on this. There's a lot of stuff going on in my business right now. And I guess it's creating a bit of stress. And what I've realized is that I can't be creative and I can't get in the flow when I'm stressed. And I think that's maybe true for a lot of creatives. And when we think about running businesses, and when I hear entrepreneurs talking, I know that people handle stress in lots of different ways. So I was just watching this YouTube video, and the guy is an entrepreneur. He has lots of physical businesses in the UK. He was talking about all the taxes. He was talking about all the problems he's got at the moment. He was talking about all the different things in each one of these businesses. And I just thought to myself, like, if that was me, there is no way that I could tolerate that level of stress. And more, I've been thinking about the different personality types that people have and the different businesses that are suited to those personality types. And I think this is going to become more and more popular. This idea of figuring out your personality type and then working out what kind of business is best suited to that personality is going to become more and more popular, because so many people are burning out because they're following the Hormozis, the Stephen Bartletts of the world. And those people will just operate in a different way to most people. Now, I'm going to find some research on this, and I'm going to find some data to back up some of these ideas. But these are just, I guess, initial thoughts that I'm throwing out there, because I coach hundreds of creative business owners, and a few of them recently have had to just hit the pause button, take some downtime, and step away from their business because they're burning out. And over the last 10 years, I've experienced that a lot in my business, as in I've seen a lot of people burn out. I've definitely burnt out or been close to burnout a few times. And I just think it's like a really important topic. I think it's really important to talk about because it can feel quite lonely. And when things aren't working, I know I can very much get in my head, maybe beat myself up a bit, maybe judge myself, maybe let some of those stories take over. And we can look at the Stephen Bartletts, the Hormozis, the Daniel Priestleys, the Chris Does. These are all kind of people that I would refer to as type A personalities. They are very driven. They're very entrepreneurial. They're very good at handling complexity, responsibility, and stress. And I've come to realize over the last 3 or 4 years, as much as I admire these people and would like to be more like them, I just fundamentally am not. And this came to light, or this was something that I realized a lot more recently when I did a DNA test. And I actually have a genetic SNP in my DNA, which doesn't mean that it's actually expressed. So it doesn't mean that I'm actually experiencing that right now, but I have a SNP that makes me more susceptible to not dealing with stress well. So having high levels of cortisol in my body burns out my adrenal glands and my nervous system much easier or much quicker than some other people. And so biologically, I'm actually built in a way that means I don't handle stress as well as a lot of those other people. And I think I've known this for a long time, but never really been able to put my finger on it. And I've said that I'm an anxious person, or I'm a very sensitive person. But now it kind of makes a little bit more sense to me. And so I just wanted to record this podcast episode because I know that there are some probably people out there right now. You might be listening to this and you might be feeling a similar way. And you might have just made peace with that. You might have been like, yep, I'm just this kind of person. I know I can't take on too much work, or I can't build a big team because it's too stressful, or I can only have these amount of clients. And you're like, yeah, that's obvious. But I think there are also a lot of people that isn't obvious for, and they are striving for something which isn't necessarily aligned to their personality. And so I'm going to be recording more podcasts and I'm going to be diving into this concept more. But I just wanted to do a really short kind of solo episode around it, which I guess highlights some of these things and just maybe makes you think about, who am I as a person? What can I tolerate really easily? What do I really enjoy? What am I good at? Versus what really stresses me out and burns me out? And how can I do more of those things? How can I design a business model around those things? Because there are lots of different business models. There's like 100 ways to skin a cat. And just because you look at Stephen Bartlett, who's got this massive team and this podcast and all of these things, and you think, well, that's pretty cool. I mean, at least I do, right? I'd love to have a podcast that allows me to travel the world and interview all these amazing people. But he just operates at a totally different level to most people. And if you watch Behind the Diary, I mean, he does sleep, but like what he does back to back, as in does 3 podcast interviews, then goes and does a keynote, then has a team meeting and he's up till kind of 2 a.m. And then he'll go to sleep and maybe he'll sleep 6 or 7 hours, but then he'll get up again, hit the gym. But like a week of that would just burn me out. I just can't do that, right? And so I've started to accept that, and that's been useful for a few reasons. Number one, thinking about the business model I want to build. But number two, to get me out of that comparison trap, to get me out of that trap of looking at that, watching Behind the Diary or going on Instagram or whatever it is and comparing myself to somebody else who is not like me. It's like, not that it's better or worse, but it's like driving, I don't know, like a Volvo, because you really value security and you want your family to be safe and you want a reliable car that gets you from A to B. And then seeing someone that drives a Ferrari and being like, oh man, I wish I could go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Well, the car is not designed to do that. It's designed to do something different. So stop comparing that car to a Ferrari, because they're 2 very different cars. Now, one's not inherently better or worse. One's more expensive than the other, but that's to do with status and lots of other different things, right? And I'm sure it costs more to make a Ferrari than it does to make a Volvo. But my point is, don't compare chalk and cheese, right? Don't compare a vehicle that is designed to do one thing against a vehicle that's designed to do something else and wonder why they're not getting the same results. So hopefully that made you think a little bit about your business and your life and your personality and what you're better suited to. I want to do a little bit more research into this. I maybe even want to look at building some kind of personality test or some kind of test that figures out what type of business you're most suited to building. So stay tuned. But if you enjoyed this episode, what I would really love is for you to connect with me on LinkedIn and just tell me you listened and tell me what you liked about it and tell me what's going on for you right now. Like, one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I wanted to connect with more people, the guests that I interview, but also the people that listen to my podcast. So if you listen to this episode, there's no video with it this week. It's just audio. If you listen to this, I'm literally sat on my couch with my microphone plugged into my phone. So I don't even know how this is going to sound. But if you did listen to this and you enjoyed it and it got you thinking, then connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Matt with 2 T's, Essam, Essam, and say in your connection message, just say you listen to my podcast. So I don't think you're trying to sell me something. And then just tell me, like, what did you get from this? Or even just, hey, Matt, I listened to your podcast. Thank you. It's just really cool because it means that me sitting here and sharing these thoughts isn't me just sharing these thoughts in a silo, and I'm not just shouting into the void. I'm actually getting people to think differently and hopefully improving their lives and their business in some way. And that's ultimately why I do this. Thank you for listening to the Creative Courage Podcast. My name is Matt Essam, and I will see you next week.